All right, so in this video, I am going to be predicting the future host cities of the upcoming Olympic Games. Now, all of the cities that I'm going to be predicting have been involved in previous bids recently, so it's not like I'm going out of control and going crazy with these predictions. They all are relatively realistic. Now, of course, when it comes to the Olympics, you're going to have multiple cities already chosen. We've got the 2024 Summer Olympics, definitely the bigger of the two, the larger event with the larger stadium when you're comparing summer and winter. Going to bigger cities in the summer, that's certainly what you're going to want to do. So Paris is hosting the 2024 Summer Olympics. You can take a look at all the renderings and the main stadium. I was looking it up. Apparently it's called Nice Stadium. Very interesting. But yes, Paris, France will be the Summer Olympics 2024 host, and the big time games happening in, at this point, I guess about 4 or 5 months. Moving on to 2026. With the Olympics, it's an every other year thing, so it is the Winter Olympics. And how about the mountains of Italy? I always love when they go to weird places. And how about Milano Cortina? Kind of an obscure place. Normally, when it comes to the Winter Olympics, they can do this. You can take a look at some of the renderings. This is already confirmed. This is not me predicting it. This will be in 2026. And then in 2028, it's also already confirmed in Los Angeles, the United States of America. Just going to be crazy considering the traffic LA already has. We'll imagine the Olympics coming there. I will say they're definitely doing a better job of having the Summer Olympics in massive cities like LA. They're not going to have to build much at all. You've already got SoFi Stadium. You've already got the LA Coliseum. They actually did renovate the LA Coliseum in part for the Olympics, but also because the Coliseum was decrepit, and that's where USC football plays. But just take a look at some renderings on 2028. And then when it comes to 2030, so this is the first one I am predicting, I'm going to say Stockholm, Sweden. The 2030 Winter Olympics, that is where they will go. Now, Stockholm recently did bid for the 2026 Olympics, and they finished in second place. There are renderings. I think in 2030 they will finally get it, and Stockholm did host the Olympics, but a while ago, so I think they come back to Stockholm, Sweden for the 2030 Winter Olympics. Moving on to 2032, this one is also already decided, so I'm not predicting this. It is in Brisbane, Australia. This is the 2032 Summer Olympics, going to be located there, and you can see just the mass amount of land the Summer Olympics will cover, the main stadium, and some other renderings for Australia in 2032. Also, I saw Berlin, Germany was on the bidding process for the Summer Olympics. Imagine if Berlin got it in 2036. That actually could happen. 100 years after the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, they could get it again. I don't think they will, but it's an interesting thought. Moving on to 2034. So this is another one I'm going to be predicting. All of these now are undecided. So I'm going to be predicting 2034 through 2044. And in 2034, it is the Winter Olympics. This one, I believe for sure, will be in Salt Lake City, Utah, located in the United States of America. Now, Salt Lake City recently hosted the 2002 Winter Olympics, and there is a lot of dialogue. Possibly 2030, but more so in 2034. They are the big favorite to host the Winter Olympics. Again, they might get it as early as 2030, but very likely in 2034. When it comes to Utah and their timeline on getting the proper facilities, I think 2034 would suit them a lot better. At that point, they should have possibly a new arena. That would be the main arena, along with a few other things, as they are trying to attract more pro sports teams. Salt Lake City, I'm very confident, will be hosting the Winter Olympics in 2034. Moving on to 2036, I do not think it's going to be Berlin, Germany. I think it's going to be the new administrative capital in Egypt. So if you guys don't know, Egypt is literally moving their capital, and they're building up this massive sports complex. It's interesting. It's almost like they're building the sports complex to host the Olympics. Like when you look at the different arenas and stadiums surrounding it, it's like they're all meant for the Olympics. Like it's weird, but this is what they're doing, and this is just kind of their standard thing. So when it comes to their brand new capital, they're going to want to show it off. They've already been in talks about bidding on the Olympics with their new capital, with their new sports areas, and I think they do get the Summer Olympics possibly in either 2036 or 2040. There might still be construction going on there in the early 2030s, so it might get pushed back to 2040. But the new administrative capital in Egypt, I do think, could potentially get the games. Certainly going to be hot there if it ends up happening. Moving on to 2038, this is the Winter Olympics. I do think it is going to be in Calgary, Canada. Now, Calgary has recently bid on the 2026 Winter Olympics. They lost out pretty early, but I do think we could possibly see Canada and North America getting another Winter Olympics, with Calgary anchored by a brand new event center that they're building there for their NHL team, possibly hosting the Winter Olympics in the 2030s, maybe in 2038. Moving on to 2040, I'm going to say Budapest will be the host. Now, Budapest is very interested in hosting the Summer Olympics. They have the infrastructure for it. They can do it. They've put out bids before in 2028 and 2032. I think they will possibly either host in 2036 or 2040. There's a lot of dialogue surrounding them. Another country that I'm going to say that I'm not predicting, but watch out for, India. India is trying to host the Summer Olympics as well. Obviously, they've got a crazy population density, but India is another place to watch out for when it comes to the Summer Olympics. But I am going to say Budapest will get the 2040 games. Moving on to 2042, I'm going to say Sapporo, Japan will be the host for the 2042 Winter Olympics. Sapporo has been in recent dialogue, possibly in the 2030s, as being a potential bid city for the Winter Olympics. This was a city that was supposed to host the Olympics back in the 1940s. It was canceled. They were supposed to host kind of combined with Germany. Kind of interesting, both the Axis hosting the Olympics, hosting the Winter Olympic Games in the early 40s. Of course, it gets canceled, but they've already gone here, and I think they could possibly, the Olympics that is, could potentially go back. And then 2044, the Summer Olympics, I think it's going to New York City, New York. Now, New York made a big bid to host the 2012 Summer Olympics. They were going to build a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. It didn't happen. This is kind of just a far out there prediction, I'll be honest. It may not happen. It would be crazy in terms of the traffic in New York City, obviously, and they might have to build, I mean, by the 2040s, we could see the New York Jets building their own stadium, kind of what everyone thought was going to happen, or I wouldn't say everyone, but some people thought the Jets were going to build their own stadium. That was going to be the anchor stadium for the 2012 Olympics, along with MetLife Stadium. It never happened. If New York City does get the Olympics, there's not a lot of dialogue. This is kind of my one far out there prediction, but if they do get the Olympics in 2044, I do think they will add on another stadium. And then I did also want to talk about a few honorable mentions, cities that might host in the future, depending. You do have Boston. So Boston came out and in 2013 really tried to push for the 2024 Summer Olympics. It obviously didn't happen, but Boston, Massachusetts might be in play in the 2030s to host the Summer Olympics. Also, you do have Qatar. They've put their hat in the ring multiple times, including in the early 2030s. They haven't won a bid yet, but they obviously have built up significantly. They already hosted the World Cup. What an odd experience that whole thing was. And now they're gunning for the Olympics possibly in the 2030s. And then Sion, Switzerland, in terms of the Winter Olympics, they have entered 3 different bids to try and host it. They've never won one, but they could be a possible option up in the Swiss Alps. That would be a beautiful scenic view there. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.